This is the Meeting of Minds podcast with me, Philippa Robinson. In this episode of the Meeting of Minds podcast, I'm in conversation with Rebecca. I've known Rebecca all her life, and I'm very proud to be her godmother. I really enjoyed our conversation, where I got to witness firsthand what a smart, interesting and dynamic woman she really is. I hope you enjoy the conversation as much as I did. So, over to Rebecca. Okay, Becca, hi. Welcome.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you are so welcome. Here we are. We're going to talk about your 20s. But of course, your 20s have only just started, haven't they? You turned 21 this year in the middle of lockdown.
I did indeed. Half my 20s so far have been me inside.
I know it's a really tough time, and I'm really sorry that this has happened in this big year for you. But I suppose there's never a good year. But from what you've been telling me, and you're going to share with us now, you've been using this time to really great effect, and that's really great to hear. But how can so if I asked you, okay, what is your experience of your 20s so far, or how are they shaping up for you? Can we perhaps start there?
So my 20s mainly I haven't ever thought of as a separate decade from my teens, really, because I've separated my life instead into kind of uni. So when I went to uni at 18, that was kind of the life section, if you like, rather than being a teen and then being in my 20s.
Yeah.
It all kind of was one bit of life, which was a great experience. It was loads of fun. I really enjoyed it. But kind of my third year, I think, which was obviously when I turned 20, and then now I've turned 21, which was from April 2019 to now, it's kind of the year where you have to, at university, most take control of what you're doing and not kind of roll in at 3 a.m. and then go to a 9 a.m. lecture. You've got to put your work in and make sure you're planning for what's next, whether that's applying for jobs or making sure your CV's ready to go, that kind of stuff. So I took a lot more thought when I went into my third year, in terms of what I was going to do with that time that I had before I might just enter a workplace, to do a bit of volunteering, get my CV up, get a job, make sure I had things that I could write to jobs and say, look, I worked alongside my degree, or I did these different modules that all varied, or I do volunteer work, and that, all that kind of stuff. So far my 20s have been, the first half was a lot of work, really, a lot of planning, because I think the expectations that are on you to leave university and be a grown-up meant that when you start remembering that you've got to leave university, yeah, you really start worrying about what you'll need as a grown-up to carry on.
Yeah.
And then the second half, kind of an abrupt end came to all that. All the fun I was having at uni, all of the extracurricular stuff I was doing, even my degree, just all kind of abruptly stopped in March, and I moved home because I didn't want to live in a student house during lockdown. I didn't want to carry on paying rent, and I just wanted to see my mum.
Yeah.
So I've moved home, and this year's been obviously not what anyone expects for their 20s at all.
Yeah.
But it has kind of given me a minute to think and go, hold on, just take a second. What do you actually want to do, rather than graduating, panicking and entering a job you're not really keen on, or going to do a panic masters and just doing something because you need to. Yeah. What do you actually want, because you've got time to think about it. And then it's let me consider my options a bit. So my 20s so far have been odd, definitely, and I don't think anyone will ever have 20s like it again.
Well, in the best possible way. I hope they don't. No.
Oh no, absolutely not.
I think you'll be one of a group of people who have this experience at your age, and hopefully other people won't. I mean, we don't know what's coming, but it's a very unique experience. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it's just it's kind of the time when I was supposed to be looking for new fun experiences, new fun jobs, even just things like when we were finishing uni, we were all really looking forward to going out for a meal together and seeing our friends from our course and going out for drinks and obviously doing all the partying we'd been doing anyway. But we've not been able to do any of that. It just was like a real odd end to a degree, because well, for starters, I was super connected to the city. To just leave Liverpool, which was a fantastic place to go to uni, it was great, I loved living there, suddenly, and I had a list of things, I've got them written down on my phone of what I was going to do in my last couple of terms, because I hadn't been to this restaurant or gone for a walk in this place or visited this, all these just little things that I've not managed to do.
Yeah.
And I still haven't done them because I just came home and that was it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, a lot of my friends have spoken about this, is the friends that you make at uni aren't always the friends you live with. So the girls I live with, I will see them again and I text them all the time and we'll meet up and remain friends. But there's people who I didn't really text that often, but I'd see them in the pub on a Thursday, or I'd bump into them in lectures and we'd have a little chat, and I just won't see them really now, because we didn't ever have a friendship so close that we talked all the time, but it was just nice to see them. Almost like the acquaintances are what we'll miss the most, because we don't really have any connection to them now, because we didn't do the goodbye and sort of all leave gracefully at the end.
Yeah, I still remember the day of my last exam, and I didn't really mix socially with a lot of the people on my course, but you all have your last exam together, and I remember coming out of that and all having a bit of like, oh my god, it's over, and thank goodness for that, and that little moment. And yeah, you're really reminding me that you just didn't get that ending.
So the girls
I've only just realized how important endings are at my age. I've always been one to go on to a new beginning, forget the ending, let's quickly go on to the new beginning. But actually endings are really important, and you didn't get that ending as you just described, and that's a bit sad that you've missed that. So, and
I think it's just a harder goodbye almost, because the girls I saw who lived with me, I had to obviously get my stuff out. Yeah. So I saw them, and it was a really rushed, me moving all my stuff out really quickly. My mum was there, but I still said, "Oh, see you soon." And since when lockdown lifted in the middle, I've met up with one of them for lunch. It was really nice. I've been shopping with the other one, like we've seen each other, and that's been nice. And I've met up with kind of, as I can, I've met up with friends that I was close with. But the people on my course, I've just not had a chance to see, because when I'd see them would be in a tutorial meeting, and then we'd nip for a pint afterwards, or we'd go to a lecture and then go, oh, should we just go and grab a pizza? But we didn't get to do that because uni just finished. We went home on a Friday, and on the Monday they said, don't come back, and that was it. So it was a bit of an abrupt end to that stage, as you say. It wasn't even really an ending, was it? It was like an abandonment and midway through, because you can sort of imagine, like, it's almost just like we just ran, like kicked our shoes off and just went, and that was it. It was just gone. And all my stuff stayed in like a big box and in 2 suitcases just in my room, because I don't even know where to put these 4 folders full of uni work or all these clothes. Or it was just like a completely crazy. And even the moving out of the house, we had to do all the things you'd normally do slowly at the end of cleaning the oven, all the stuff like all the little things. We were like, we've got one day, quick, like polish everything, hoover, we're out. It was just, honestly, it was kind of like a weird run for your life situation.
I'm really getting the feeling of that as you're describing it to me. So you pull up, you jump out, your mum's in the car, you run in, you get your stuff, you pack it, you clean the oven, you dust, you hoover, you say goodbye to everybody, and you're out. And
because one of my friends decided to stay in Liverpool, because I think she just thought she would focus better in a house on her own, because we still had the house. You're in a contract. We still had the house for those months.
Yeah.
So she stayed on her own. So she kind of got the goodbye to the house, which sounds like an odd thing, but it is somewhere you've spent your life for 3 years. You've lived with these people in this environment. It's been really nice, and you kind of just rush to get away from it. And I'm sad that I rushed it so much, but I didn't. The only reason we went up so early and moved my stuff out and left for good and didn't go back is because of Dad. So for the listeners, my dad works in A&E, so he was obviously very frontline from the off. He was seeing it from the very beginning, maybe even earlier than kind of lockdown started. He kind of knew what was coming.
Yeah.
So in our house, there was a lot of high stress on that. We were worried about him, obviously, but we were also worried about the people we were seeing. So we stopped seeing my grandparents very early on. And we tried to avoid seeing our friends as much as we could because we didn't want to be the kind of catalyst for it. Obviously, we didn't want to put anyone at risk who we know. So when I went back up, the girls kind of were happy for me to stay and said, "Oh, come on, like I'm sure you'll be back in a couple of weeks." And I was like, I just think from what I'm seeing at home and how stressed kind of my parents are, I don't think I'll be coming back. So I rushed out and that was it. And even at the time, I think I kind of thought, well, maybe in a month, because they said the initial 2 week lockdown, and then that'd be it. It would be fine. So even I thought, oh, maybe, after Easter holiday, I'll come back up and we'll see each other again. But as I left, Mum said, I think that's probably it. And she was right. I just didn't go back, which is a real shame.
Yeah. And it was a really abrupt ending, like you say. So, and then not long after that, you turned 21, didn't you?
I did. My flatmate actually, and one of my really close friends at uni, her birthday is the week before mine. So we had this whole kind of weekend plan. We're going to get all our friends together. We'll go out. We'll probably have a meal. All this sort of things that we'd always do together for our birthdays. And that was completely out the window. I had a barbecue with my parents, which was really nice. But my mum worked so hard to try and make it as special as she possibly could, obviously. But it was just the five of us at home. Eating. We had an afternoon tea, and then the next day we did kind of games in the garden with a big barbecue, and then we had a spag bowl because it's my favourite dinner, and that was like my 21st birthday. And I think even when you're sort of 18, 21 feels like such a big age, you're like, that's when I'll be a grown-up, that's when I'll be a real adult lady. And then it was just all down the toilet, and it was just kind of a real anticlimax. My friends, bless them, did this Zoom fun Taskmaster. I don't know if you've seen Taskmaster, but I love Taskmaster. And my mum planned like tasks for us all and sent packages to my friend's house with a bottle of Prosecco in and like instruction sheets. So we did like a Zoom postal event from all their different houses, and that was really nice. But it's just kind of not, obviously it's never what you imagine it's going to be like at all. So I've told them all that as long as we've all got the vaccine, we're doing my 21st cancelled this year. I'm just turning 21 again next year. Absolutely. And we'll do it properly.
Absolutely. I mean, it does sound like, with your mum's fab, isn't she? So trying, you made the best of it, which is actually all you can do in the middle of that. And, that sounds like a great 21st. I know it wasn't what you planned. Oh no,
it was fantastic. It was fab. I think the first couple of weeks, it was a lot of, this is horrible, doom and gloom. Oh my God, I hate this. I hate being trapped at home. I was ready to start my life. And then after a while, I was like, do you know what? This is happening either way. I'm not going to be able to change any of this situation without breaking a lot of rules. And I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to do what I can. And actually, I've had this conversation with my parents a couple of times now, actually, is that I would never have seen them for this length of time post-uni if this hadn't happened, because I would have gone somewhere else to do my masters. I'd have moved to, I don't know, Edinburgh or somewhere really far away and to do a masters in September. So I'd have had 2 months at home, and it would have been mainly me going out with my mates from home. And then I would have come back, packed my stuff and gone again. And actually I've had 8 months with my parents, who I love very much and do spend a lot of time with, and always was close to in my teen years. So it's actually been really nice to sit on the sofa with them and watch a bit of rubbish telly or have a film night and eat dinner with them all. And even Hannah and Sam, so my siblings, have grown up loads since I went to uni, which is an odd thing to kind of realise as a 20-year-old. But Sam especially was in primary school when I went to uni, and now he's in year 9. He's like choosing his GCSEs. And I would have missed so much kind of big life stuff of his. Which I felt like I did miss a bit of uni. That was a really hard bit of uni, because I did enjoy uni tons. I had a great time. I love kind of going out and making friends and all that sort of stuff. So I did have a fab time. But the stuff that I found hardest was not being here when Hannah and Sam had stuff on.
Yeah.
Because I missed it. I was like, oh, Sam's like a grown-up now, and I didn't see it. That's so horrible.
You can't be everywhere, can you? You can't be out, doing your thing where you live, as well as being part of what's still going on at home. And that
exactly,
that is a real sort of push-pull situation.
Yeah.
When you are first moving away from home, I think. And I do remember that. So it's good that you can see the positive that has come out of that you have had time to spend getting to know everybody again, the older you are and the older that your siblings are as well. And I think personally I think that will stand you all in really good stead later on.
Yeah, because I know Hannah's now an adult, which is crazy to me anyway, but she has, since she was kind of 16, been up to Liverpool a bit. We've gone to concerts together. She's just come for a weekend and we've had like a takeaway and watched telly, and that's been really nice to spend time with her as a grown-up and get to know each other. Because when you're 14 and 10 or 16 and 12, all you do is bicker all the time. We just fought all the time. She stole my top, and now we still both do that and bicker with each other all the time, but because we're both grown-ups, we can be friends as well as being siblings, which is really nice. And then Sam is now getting to that age where we can be mates and laugh at stuff together, and I don't have to just feel like I need to protect him all the time. We can just be friends, which is really nice. So coming home for that age for him has been really good for me. I think I've enjoyed getting to know him.
And do you think they've enjoyed having you home?
Well, Sam. I do have a quote actually from my younger brother, he's 8 years younger than me, quite a lot younger than me. When I came, I think it's about 2 months after I'd come home, and he said something along the lines of sometimes you can love something better if it's far away. And I like that a lot. I don't think he means it as it sounds. I think he hasn't minded having me kind of to watch telly with and do nothing with and play video games with and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But he doesn't like having another grown up in the house to tell him to please could you fill the dishwasher.
Yes. Yeah. No, I can see that. And it's a balance between how much of it is good having an extra person around and how much of it is actually not quite so good. So I see that. But it's great that on the whole it's been nice you having that time. But also you being at home, you were telling me before we started recording about actually what else this time at home has given you.
Yeah, 100%. So before I left uni, I kind of was just getting experiences where I could. So if I got a job opportunity pop up through any kind of means, if someone just said, oh, we've got something going in the office, or would you come and help out doing this waitressing or all that sort of stuff, I'd just do it. When a volunteer opportunity came up at uni, I went and did it. I worked in a primary school for a bit. Last year I applied for a job doing admin at home because I was at home and I wanted a summer job, and I got that, so that was a different experience again. In Liverpool, I love going to live music events, so I thought, great, I'll go and work for a recruitment agency at festivals. So I just did loads of festival work throughout uni. So I've had a great time, but it's never been directed, and I've never gone, oh, one of these will be a career.
Yeah.
And then when I came home, I sort of thought I need to actually decide what's next, because otherwise I will just live in my parents' house and eat their delicious food until I'm much too old. So I started doing a lot of research about what jobs were available for me. I initially thought a lot about teaching, but I knew I would never go home from it. I knew that I would get really attached to that group of children and care about them all, and that's obviously good, but on the other hand it means I just worry all the time, and a lot of it would be me putting, maybe not my mental health, but my kind of just putting a lot of myself into it, which isn't always good for me. So I then started looking at other things I'm interested in, which through uni I've developed a lot of stats knowledge, and I actually come to enjoy it quite a lot. research methods, stats, producing reports, all that kind of stuff. So I started looking at jobs that were more linked to the statistics side, because I decided as well, looking really into the future, that if I one day think, you know what, I've made a huge mistake, I want to be a teacher, I can go and do that. I can go and do a teach first. I can get some more volunteer experience and go and get a TA job and work my way up. I can go and do another degree if I so feel like it. But going from teaching into something else more specific would be much harder for me when I was older, and I'd already kind of got a career in teaching. So I applied for an internship last, I think it was December time, get onto, but it was never, that's not really been a problem, because it would just introduce me to a job sector that I really had no idea about, which has been amazing, because it's meant I can then focus my masters, get onto a masters and start a masters, which I'm doing in January. And it's all kind of to do with statistics and audience insights and analysis. And I can go and work in media or in events or all kind of things that I do enjoy, whilst doing statistics, which I also enjoy. And eventually, if I decide it was all a mistake, I could go and do teaching down the line if I wanted to. But without this, it was probably 3 months that I had free. I wouldn't have even looked. I'd have just carried on doing what I was doing, and not realised that was even an option, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think lockdown has given, or this year generally, because lockdown's sort of been in various forms during the year, and it means different things to different people depending on what area you're in. But this year generally has, for some people, given them time to, because we've been forced to have time. So I mean, my work just ended completely in March, and I just had nothing. So I had a similar experience, that it gave me time, probably for the first time in my life, to actually do nothing and think, okay, so actually if I had to create what I wanted next, what would that be? So it sounds like a similar thing to you, that it gave you that time that, you know, like you say, actually in more normal circumstances, you'd be out with your mates and you'd be out doing other things, and you wouldn't necessarily have that time to sit down and think, okay, focus on what's coming next and what do I want out of that. I think we were talking off air, and you said actually you've done all these jobs, and you've taken the elements and sort of put them together of a sort of job that you would want, and that would suit your lifestyle, that would, you know, maybe a job Monday to Friday and not working weekends is what you want, because you like times weekends with your friends and family and stuff, and just how could you build a job that suits your lifestyle and your skills and what you want out of life, and then you've worked back from there to actually sort of find the master's course that's going to hopefully lead you there, which I just find that is incredible. I think that's brilliant. It's sort of what I've done, but I'm not very good at the end goal. I just like, okay, well, we'll try this and we'll try that. So hence that it was out of that time that this podcast has been, the idea for this podcast was born. But I think it's really smart of you as well. I mean, you touched on it earlier, mental health, and you said, well, maybe not so much your mental health, but I think it perhaps is an element of your mental health, knowing that if you were worried about things in a work scenario during your time not at work, that does affect your mental health. If you can't switch off from work, it can have a real impact on your wider life. And
because my degree was psychology, which obviously then the route that everyone expects you to take is to can you read my mind, and or are you going to be a psychiatrist? And I never wanted to do that, for the same reason that I kind of ended up turning a bit away from teaching, is that I knew that if I was talking to people about their personal lives and how they were feeling and their experiences, I would, for starters, I'd want them to be, I don't know if this makes me a fixer, but I'd want them to be better, and I'd want them to be helped. But that means that I would always put the pressure on myself, which definitely wouldn't have been good for me. So I kind of, I've always said I'm not going to do clinical, because it's not, I can't do that setting where someone else for starters, relies on you so heavily, and that's exactly how it should be. That's the job.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you have to kind of set the boundaries and make it okay for you as well.
Yeah.
And I just would have struggled with that personally. So then I moved to teaching a bit, and then kind of realised that it's quite similar. People rely on you every day, and they're even younger and more impressionable, and have their stuff going on and are growing. And I just thought, I know that I will make it too much about me, and then I'll never take it home, which is probably my own problem. But it just means that a 9-to-5 office job where I can do research into things that have already happened is much more preferable to me.
Yeah. And you've always got those skills, you've got your degree, and there's no saying now that the decisions you make now are going to form the entirety of the rest of your career, because a career for life. I mean, in my generation, and I'm in my 50s, a job for life doesn't really exist. And I've sort of morphed into a couple of careers now. And, certainly for your generation, a job for life is really not expected, and probably not even wanted, really.
No.
What do they call it? A portfolio career, where you have a bit of time doing this and a bit of time doing that. And that links in with one of the reasons why I started doing the idea for this podcast was that I did a post on Instagram about your 20s being can be a confusing decade. And actually it's more about, rather than having one idea and going with it's more about what a lady that wrote a book that I read, that she talked about trying on life's uniforms. And so having a look at this and deciding, okay, how does this uniform fit? How does this job, this lifestyle, how does this suit me? How does this fit? Is this okay? Okay, I like this bit about it, but not this, and then moving on to something else. And I think it's really important that people in their 20s know that it's okay to not have a fixed idea where the rest of life is going to go, because
even with this, I might get to 30 and realize I was talking a load of rubbish. I'd love to do teaching, and then I'll just go and do it. I can do that. It
won't be too late.
Yeah, well, luckily I'm in a situation where I'm kind of privileged enough that I could just go, oh, do you know what, I've changed my mind, which isn't available to everyone. But even now, thinking about things I'm doing now, like this I'll probably listen to this podcast in 10 years and go, what was I talking about? I had no idea. Like I had no clue. But I'm trying to do something that for the moment is right for me, without being something that is, I want to get started almost. I want to get started in something that's more of a career than just me working Saturday night shifts. And I want to get started with that. I want to learn things. I want to start something new and get excited about it. But if I wait for me to be ready for a specific thing, rather than finding something I'm ready for now and then moving into that later, then I'll just never do anything.
No, and you're absolutely right. And that is what holds quite a lot of people stuck sometimes, that they're looking too far in the future to, if you sat there now going, okay, I need to know that the decision I make now is what I'm going to want to do for the next 10 years. Well, okay. I mean, that's a lot of pressure on the decision that you need to make now.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, is this the right thing for you to do now? Does it seem like the right thing? Have you thought about it? Does it seem like it's going to fit with what you want from your life? And if it does, then go and try it. And like you say, I mean, it takes, you are in a privileged position that you can try this, that you've got a place to do your masters, which is fantastic. Presumably you're going to live at home while you do that, because it's not
which is another thing that I'm just 100%, we're completely lucky with. My mum said, yes, if you want to learn this at home and stay here, we'll have you, which kind of is another thing that's just helped me tremendously. Because if I had to move somewhere else and rent somewhere else or try and find a place somewhere else, I'd have struggled much more with this whole process. But kind of having that to relax about has 100% put me in a better position, which makes me incredibly lucky, and I know that.
Yeah, no, and then it's good to know that you're lucky and accept that. But equally, you do have that on your side, so it's completely okay to take to you. I don't mean use, but to accept that situation and make the best of it. And you've made this decision to go and do this course, which actually you'd not really thought about at all until having had this time to research things and look into things. And see how that goes, because whatever you learn, you will learn skills in doing that course, and a job that it will lead to. You will learn skills that you will then carry on using in later life, even if you don't stay in that sector or in that job or in that area. You will definitely learn things. We're learning all the time. I just think I think it's really great. It's really great for me to hear that something really good has come out of this year for you, and that you've now got a plan, because it must be quite hard. There must be lots of people in at your age and your position, as in finish university. I don't know. I presume graduate schemes are nowhere near as easy to get on this year as I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm sure it's harder to get on them this year, and there's just less jobs available and much more uncertainty. And I'm sure lots of people are feeling stuck and don't know what to do.
So I know that a lot of the expectations for kind of leaving uni come from, firstly, school and university, not by any fault of their own really, but also just by general society. It's kind of like, find your forever, kind of find what you want to do forever and love it. And I'm like, there's no approach of, you don't have to do that forever. Find something you want to do now and do that. So I think that puts a lot of pressure on kind of finding something you're always going to fit, which is very stressful. But even choosing psychology as a degree taught me how much transferable skills are important, and how much you can use something you've learned in one subject to a completely different kind of end. Psychology is so massive that there is no chance of walking out and getting a job in psychology, but you can use all the skills you've learned in all the different sectors for so many different jobs, or even so many different courses. So just a 12-week module, you can go deeper into that, do a bit of outside reading, and then get onto a master's that you're interested in, which is what I did. I did one module about media, and now I'm doing a media focused master's because that's what interested me. And it excited me at the time, and I liked it. But then I've also linked in my research methods and realized that I can do statistics, so that's linked into the master's. So finding transferable skills is so important and has helped me the most, because for so long I thought, I haven't done that subject, so I've got no chance of getting that role. Because
you were saying earlier about statistics that actually, you didn't really enjoy maths at school. It wasn't your best subject, and actually you've sort of shied away from, or not really felt able to think, okay, statistics could be for me, because for you statistics kind of came under the maths umbrella, but actually you've realized it is something you can learn. It is something you can do. It's actually something you're good at and you enjoy. So actually that's why you've gone more in that direction.
Yeah, I think a lot of the things placed on me at school are things that I still go, oh, well, I can't do that. But that's not true. It's just, for starters, they're complete, maths and statistics are completely different subjects. But in terms of anything, something when you were 15 that you weren't very good at, you can look back at now and go, hold on, if I work through this, actually, this might be all right. So for the first kind of year of uni, I said to mum all the time, and I said to my course mates, oh, I can't do that. Like, I'm not good at maths, but I can. And I've kind of done all right. I've got grades to show that I've done okay. I've produced reports. I've worked in teams doing statistical analysis. I've done quantitative and qualitative and all this sort of data stuff, which when I first started uni, I'd have gone, oh God, that's not for me, because I'm not good at maths. I was always good at English, but they're not two separate things. You can be good at both things. You can be good at different bits of both things, but it's just kind of a lot of it, I think, probably comes from A-level and GCSE grading. Is like when you get that grade, that's kind of what you are at that time. And obviously that's just to help you get to the next stage and to give kind of a playing field for everyone to be on.
Yeah.
But it is such a, oh, well, I've got that grade now, so that's probably bad. But it's just not true.
It's really interesting. It's right. It's exactly what you say. I mean, those grades are an indication of where you were at that time compared to whatever this ideal, whatever you had to do to get an A or whatever you had to do to get these. But actually, that doesn't define who you are as a person and how you are going to be in a job applying any of that information. I mean, I did a law degree and I was rubbish at my law degree. I was absolutely rubbish. I got a 2-2, I got a solid 2-2, but I only got a 2-2. And but actually, I was a great lawyer. So I could very easily have been put off going on to be a lawyer because I didn't get a brilliant degree. But doing a law degree and actually being a lawyer in practice were two very different things. And that, sort of like what you're saying. And I think it's really important to know that and not be defined by or allow yourself to sort of limit how much you incorporate things like math or English or things into, what am I trying to say? Not limit yourself to not doing things that involve things that you think you're not very good at.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's just because at school you learnt to think that you weren't very good at something. But that actually out in the big wide world is something completely and utterly different.
Yeah.
Can I just go back to something because you said earlier that you felt that a lot of expectation on like leaving university and sort of finding your forever thing came from being at school and at university. Is that right? Is that your feeling?
So we did a module in first year where we learned to write our CVs. So we got taught what to put on a CV to get a specific job and how to do. So even from the first term of being in a new city with completely new people studying a completely new thing, they were like, oh, you should all be thinking about your job, which instantly was stressful because at that time I was thinking about whether or not my flatmates liked me or not, whether or not I was making the most of having this great 3-year experience that's supposed to be the best time of your life, whether or not I missed my parents, which I did so much, whether or not I had enough money to go out on Friday. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's all this stuff that is completely new to you as an independent grown-up living alone.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, remember that soon you'll have to enter the job market and it'll be terrifying, and here's how you do it. Unis have great career, well, at least mine did, a great career advice service. You can go and sit and they'll talk you through your options and kind of what's for you, and here's all the stuff you could do with your skills. But even all the kind of careers advice stuff is very useful, but it gives you a direction, which is important. You should have kind of an idea about a direction you want to go in, but it doesn't need to be such a big, have you got your, this is going to be your career? Like, it might not. It might just be something you do for a bit to see if you like it or not. And I think it's just very tricky. I think probably we got less pressure than other courses because no, you can't really go straight from a psychology degree into a psychology professional job. Because that's something else
to go is so varied.
So you can get into many good careers with just a straight psychology degree, but if you want to do something clinical or something that involves professional psychology, you have to go and do a master's, because it's so massive that if you get a job, they'll say, yeah, but what actually have you done that's related to this specifically? So I think it's probably less pressure than for other courses. But if you do something, the kind of pressure on you to make a decision so early is, even at A-level, if they say, oh, why don't you go and do a very specific engineering course? So one of my cousins, both my cousins did engineering, but one of my cousins did, I can't remember, mechanical engineering or something, and that was right for him. He really enjoys it. He's still doing it fantastically. He's having a great time. But no one ever says what happens if you get to 30 and go, oh my God, I don't want to be an engineer anymore. And you've done this really specific degree with year in industry and like a direct job path. That it then becomes such a specific kind of route through to your career that you don't have a chance to go, hold on, maybe I want to, I don't know, do events management. Do you know what I mean? It never, it's just like a, like it's just such a straight line from being at A level, which is 16, 17 years old,
Yeah.
to being in a career, which is crazy to me that people that young should have to, because my sister's choosing at the moment whether to go to uni, whether not to go to uni, what to do at uni, what will help her get a job. She's a child still, really. She shouldn't have to choose something now that could kind of impact her forever and ever.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think it's a lot of pressure very young, and it starts even just choosing your options for GCSE, which is what which is what my 14-year-old is at, and he could make some decisions now that could, if he doesn't do something at GCSE, he's not going to be able to do it at A level. All the chances are he's not going to be able to do it at A level. So he might make decisions now that scupper some choices further down the line. I mean, it's never the end. You can go and do GCSE, A levels outside school. I mean, if you really have a passion and decide, okay, I didn't do that. But it is. I totally agree with you that it's really tricky, and there is and I think by it being so tricky, it sort of increases the expectation in a way, because, okay, I've made these decisions. So this bit by bit, you're narrowing the path down, aren't you? And I think.
And you're almost getting shaped by what you choose at each stage.
Yeah.
To a certain thing, whether you know it or not, really. Because I'm at A level, I had no idea my life path. I had not a single clue.
Yeah.
So I picked what I liked. I picked what I enjoyed and I thought I'd do the best at. But then now that, and already then just by doing that, when I got to uni, I couldn't have done a whole section of uni degrees because I'd just completely cut them all off when I picked my A levels.
Yeah, me too. So it's just me too. And that was the way it was. It's really interesting that it hasn't changed, and I don't think the A levels have changed. I was really I felt I was really lucky. I was really good at maths, and I found that maths came to me really easy. So I did maths and further maths. I did as much maths as I possibly could at A level because I hoped I would do well in it and get good grades, because that was all I was looking for, rather than it being a particular subjects that would send me down a certain path. But I didn't choose sciences, so I knew all the science-based things were out the window by then. And it is really interesting, and that's definitely what happened to me. I went down a certain path and I ended up sticking on that path for quite a long time.
Well, and it's not always a negative. It 100% isn't. It can be so positive, and it can give you. Some people dream of a career from being tiny, and that's what they want to do, and then they go and do it and they get on that, and that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
But I think it's just a thing of being kind of this age and going, oh my god, if I'd picked kind of one different A level, I could have done that instead, and I could be there instead now. And it's just such a tiny decision at really a young age when you've got no idea what's going on. I still don't have any idea what's going on, but even then you have to choose something that could change everything, which is very stressful.
I can I vaguely remember, but I can definitely hear from what you're telling me how stressful it is. And can I just say, I think you're making a fabulous job of it. And
thank you.
And I'm really pleased to hear that you decided what your next step is, and you're on that. You're going to start that in January. I think it's fabulous. I mean, I think now is a really great time to sort of, for me to ask you. So, very vaguely, have you got a bigger picture? Hopes and dreams, with your 20s pan out ahead of you. What might fall in that for you?
Okay, so when I was at A levels, we had to write a letter to ourselves when we were 25, and then we'll open it when we're 25, and it'll be our life then. Obviously, I didn't wait till I was 25. As soon as I moved back from Liverpool and found this weird envelope with my name on, I was like, "What is this?" Just opened it, and when I was A level, I had such a massive idea. I had such a huge, honestly, I was going to travel the world, do all this amazing stuff. And it was going to be incredible and amazing. And it was all going to work out. And then basically what changed my entire perspective was when I went to Italy. I think I've told you about this before, but I went traveling after my A levels to do see the world. I'm going to be a cultured lady and do all this
journey.
stuff, and go to uni and have been to all these cool places and be such a cool person. And I went to Italy for one day and got mugged and had to come home.
Yeah, no, bless you.
And it just was a brilliant picture of how everything was going. I was like, right, limit your expectations a bit. Let's not travel the world before we're 20. Let's come on now. So I came home and started uni, and uni was great. And then my hopes and dreams at uni were, I'm going to get a great grad job and do all this stuff. And it just all kind of, everything is fine and fun and everything's great. But I'm never going to, I kind of realized at one point, you don't need to have everything together by the time you're 25. You don't need to have a house and a dog and a good career and a nice car. You can just kind of still be living the best life you can, and that'll do. So my hopes and dreams now are much smaller, but still kind of dreams. My next thing is a house, because I love my family endlessly, but I can't live here forever. They drive me up the wall. So currently saving up. I'm sure it'll be years in the making, but my next kind of dream is to have a house, which is my next goal.
Yeah, and I suppose where that house is will depend where the career is taking you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I decided not to kind of instantly just go, I'm going to rent somewhere and leave and get any job, because I that won't help me. I'm going to stay here until I found kind of a job after my masters, and then hopefully that job will make sure I can go somewhere else. I definitely can't stay here. It's just not affordable for a 20-year-old. So, and I definitely want to live somewhere nearer a city, because I loved living in a bigger place.
You really enjoyed Liverpool, didn't you?
Oh, I loved it. I did love it. I love living here. I love living in the countryside. I love going on walks and that sort of stuff. But for someone in their 20s, given what we're talking about, there is really limited kind of options for us. There's not real massive career development through this tiny town. There's not kind of big opportunities for going out and networking and meeting new people and doing all this fun stuff, because there's one bar and 3 main offices buildings. There's nothing kind of happening, which I think would be really nice once I'd got a solid kind of life in place. I'd got a lovely career that I was enjoying. I'd got all that would be lovely. But right now, when I'm trying to explore all the different stuff, I want to be somewhere bigger.
Well, where there's more stuff to explore,
with more stuff happening. So my main hope and dream is leaving home currently, and finishing my masters, because uni for me was great fun, but I did a lot of having fun, and I know I could have worked harder. So I want my masters to be me putting all the work in I possibly can and fully getting my potential, because I still did good and I got the grade I wanted, but I know that when I got to the end, I thought I could have gone to more lectures probably, or just gone that coursework. I could have probably read it through one more time and made sure I drafted it properly, rather than just going submit. So I'm going to take the time this time and go do it all properly and work really hard and try and do the best I can. That's my most current expectation of me, is that I want to do that really well.
Well, it sounds like you did university just right. That's my expectation of doing university right, and I know that might not be everybody's, and you got out of that what you needed, and now you're on the next stage, and you will, what you want out of this next stage is something slightly different, isn't it? And actually it's shorter. Is it a year?
It's 1 year, so it'll be January to January, and you don't get a I think it's 10 months, but it'll finish 2022. So 1 year, and it's really early January 2022 it finishes. So
yes. So and then during next year you can celebrate your 21st, and you can
properly. We'll just pretend none of it happened, and we're going all out for the 21st.
All out for your 21st on your 22nd.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the middle of doing your masters, and that is just fabulous. It really is. You've had so many great things to say throughout our chat. It's been wonderful hearing all
you.
about it. It's been truly wonderful talking to you. I am so impressed by the depth of your thinking and your ability to flex and sort of go, okay, so my expectations on that, okay, maybe they were a little bit high, so actually let's just regroup and sort of have a rethink about that. And I think that is such a brilliant skill to be taking into your 20s. I really do, given that this is a time of experiencing different things and finding out a bit more, a lot about yourself and who you are, in the wider world and in the world of work, and what you're going to bring and what your zone of genius is going to be, as you move through your 20s. And I think that ability to flex is really important, and be open to opportunities and open to things that's not necessarily going the way you think they're going to. And that doesn't necessarily mean they're going wrong. They just might not go the way that you expect. But I'm a great believer in all things, that everything is exactly as it should be. It just doesn't always look like that at the time.
100%. Well, I'm sure eventually all of this will be, I'll go, oh no, I changed my mind again and did something else. But that's fine.
But that's okay, because that's
I've got a while.
And you don't want to settle either. And some people will settle, and that's absolutely fine. But I can tell that you're not one of those people. You have thoughts and dreams and hopes, and you're not going to just settle. I mean, you might settle for a space of time, because all of us have to do things that we don't necessarily want to do because of the bigger picture. But equally, you're going to, I don't know, you're going to do something amazing. I have that,
I hope so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh dear.
One very last question before we end. I did ask you if you have a motto or a saying that you sort of say to yourself, or you use a lot, or something that is bit of fun, or might be very serious. But did you have something?
I've thought about this lots, and I've spoken. Right, we've done dog walks where we've all chatted about it this week. It's been a whole thing.
This is a family input,
family effort. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't really have any things that I say to myself all the time, but I do have a couple of things that people say to me that then I go back to if I'm like, oh God, everything's going wrong. So my friends, and this is mainly used to kind of convince someone to come out that night, even though they've got something important the next day, and they say, well, what about when you're 80? You won't think about that tomorrow, will you? You'll wish you'd gone and had fun with your friends. And sadly it's worked loads of times, but it does kind of mean on another level, they're right. Why would I not go? And I don't want to look back when I'm 80 and go, I'm so glad I stayed in and read my book. I want to go, oh, actually, do you know what? That was a really nice time. Yeah,
exactly. Completely agree with you. And it's really important to have the fun as well as the serious bit of life.
So that's kind of one thing that I use to make sure I'm having fun.
Right.
And then the other one is from a Barbie Rapunzel film that me and my sister used to love when we were little. And my dad says it to us all the time. And it's kind of, he says it if we're really worried about something, or we think something's gone really wrong, or like something's happened that we're not proud of, or something's gone wrong in our eyes, and we think everything's terrible and the world's ending and it's kind of everything's collapsing around us. It's a song that says, constant as the stars above, always know that you are loved. And he'll just say, remember, constant as the stars above, and then he'll just walk off. But it just means to us, like, oh yeah, actually, we're always going to have kind of we'll always have someone, our family are always going to be there for us, or we've got a really good friend who's going to be there for us, and it just kind of makes us go, actually, that's not that important. That thing that's gone wrong isn't going to ruin everything, because these things and all the kind of special people that we've got around us are actually what matters, and they're still there, so that's okay.
And that helps you put it in perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think perspective is kind of both
I also love that
help me with perspective.
There is somebody else as well who is there to love you, which is yourself. And that is the really important thing, to speak really kindly to yourself and know that yes, all those other people love you, and that is amazing, but love yourself as well, and speak kindly to yourself. And I think that is fabulous. I love those. good family
family effort. I'll let them know.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll probably start saying those to other people, because that's what happens as you get a bit older. You then adopt those and start saying them to others. So
absolutely.
Rebecca, it's been such a pleasure. You've been amazing. I knew you would be, and you have not disappointed me. Far from it. You've been amazing.
Oh, excellent. Well, I'm glad I could help.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Meeting of Minds podcast. You can find this podcast in all the usual places. Please tell your friends. Please subscribe. And if you have a moment, I'd be really grateful if you could rate and review, as it helps other people find us and helps me spread the messages of empowerment and positivity that I'm really passionate about. If you want to find out more about me, you can visit my website at www.safeandsupported.co.uk. Until next time, bye.